violence will begin to engulf the whole Middle East and weaken personal and economic security all over the world. In a way, this point is underscored by the national intelligence estimate that was reported on yesterday, which I have not seen yet. But I will tell you that one reaction I have to it is this. As bad as the terrorist situation on the ground is now in Iraq and all over the world, what I know of what the national intelligence says, to me it says this, that it will only grow, that terrorist threat, exponentially worse if we follow the Lamont plan and rush our troops out to meet an arbitrary, politically preset deadline 9 months from now. The terrorists will not only have a safe haven in Iraq, they will claim a great victory over us and use it to recruit more terrorists as they did after their brutal attacks on us of 9/11. I'm painting this dark picture because I believe the dangers of Ned Lamont's plan for Iraq are too serious to ignore or minimize. I'm not alone. You will find it very hard to locate a serious national security expert who endorses the Lamont plan. Nor will you find many Democratic senators endorsing the Lamont plan. Hillary Clinton is opposed to it. Joe Biden is opposed to it. Chris Dodd is opposed to it. When it came to a vote in the Senate in June, only 13 senators voted for it. More than 70% of my Democratic colleagues in the Senate opposed the Lamont plan. Why is that? Well, as former Navy Secretary, current Democratic candidate Jim Webb from Virginia recently said, quoting a great general and a great president, Dwight Eisenhower, and here's the quote, "Anyone who can give you a date certain for the end of a war does not know war." Let me repeat, anyone who can give you a date certain for the end of a war, which is what Ned Lamont wants Congress to mandate our military to do in Iraq, does not know war. And as Bill Clinton has said many times this year, pulling out of Iraq by a date certain would be a mistake. Once you break the eggs, he said, you have the responsibility to make an omelet. End of quote. In his words, he always had a way with words. In his words, to explain that egg metaphor, and I quote again, "It would be an error to say we will leave by X date." I believe it would be, on the other side, every bit as much a mistake to say to the Iraqis that we're going to stay there indefinitely no matter what. It would be a mistake for the Iraqis and for us. The sooner they take over control of their own destiny, the better it will be for them and us. And I've consistently opposed an open-ended commitment of American troops to Iraq. That happens to be, incidentally, something Ned Lamont and I do agree on, and I don't mind saying that. Now, continuing on the course we are on now, to me, is not a viable option. We've got to, without change of policy, without looking for fresh ideas to achieve the goals that so many of us share, we've got to confront the reality that what we're doing now in Iraq is not working as well as we had hoped. And we've got to begin to pursue some new approaches for achieving our mission in Iraq. Let me repeat that again because it's important. Just continuing to do what we've been doing so far is not the solution. We've got to work together to find and pursue new approaches to get the job done. So today, I want to offer some specific ideas to do that. I think most people understand that war is hell, and there are no easy answers here, but I believe that if we take these steps, we can help Iraq stand on its own faster, and we can begin a drawdown of our American troops sooner. First, as I said 3 years ago, with all respect, I believe Don Rumsfeld should be replaced as Secretary of Defense. He has served in this grueling position for 6 years now. We need fresh, new leadership in this war. I believe it would reinvigorate our military from the halls of the Pentagon to the streets of Baghdad. It would give us a chance to begin a new dialogue with our allies around the world and to draw them to our side. And perhaps most important, it would give us a chance to begin a new dialogue with the American people here at home, so many of whom have lost confidence in the Secretary of Defense, and we know that their support is critically important to the successful completion of this war. It's been said before, and I'll say it again. The enemy can and will never defeat us on the battlefield in Iraq. But if we lose the support of the American people, we can end up losing the war. Second, together with the British, I believe we should convene an international crisis conference on Iraq, involving European and Arab countries, especially those who have so much to lose if Iraq were to collapse into outright civil war and become a safe haven for terrorists. If these nations will not help us train the Iraqi security forces to take over from us, which is the case in too many instances, surely they can be convinced in their own self-interest to join us in financing and overseeing the rebuilding of Iraq's economy so that the Iraqi people can live better lives and their children can dream of even more. Third, this is a 10-point program. We must get together with the Iraqi political leadership because they must do a better job of cracking down on the militias, beefing up reconstruction efforts, and building a genuine, well-functioning unity government. This is a message that I have carried to the Iraqi leadership on my trips to Iraq, and which I will convey tomorrow morning when Senator McCain and I will be hosting a meeting with the President of Iraq, Jalal Talabani, in Washington. Fourth, the Iraqis must be pushed to achieve their national compact that guarantees shared power and resources among Shia, Sunni, and Kurds. Fifth, we should put our best American commanders in the field in Iraq and keep them there. Rotation of our military leadership from the top to particularly the colonels who actually run this war has worked, in my opinion, against sustained progress. As a good friend and advisor of mine, defense analyst Dr. Andy Krepanevich has said, that is like removing General Patton halfway through the European campaign of World War II. When we've got strong leaders, we have to ask of them to stay in the field and see us to victory. Six, to adapt to the new challenges of this new kind of war, we must increase by 2 or 3 times a program that our military and the administration has started, which is working, which is to embed U.S. soldiers in Iraqi units. But we've got to increase the number in every unit, including special forces personnel who can be involved both in training Iraqis as well as civil affairs personnel. And we must increase the compensation and career rewards for those brave American troops who take on this critical role. Let me quote the former Marine infantry officer in Iraq, Seth Moulton, who recently wrote, "Fielding more advisor teams will eventually allow more Americans to come home," end of quote, because embedded troops need less outside support and they hold the highest promise, in fact we've seen it already, of preparing the Iraqis themselves to take over for us. This can be done by redeploying existing troops to this role as embedded officers. Seventh, we've got to put a priority on building a logistics capability in Iraqi units and increasing the strength of Iraqi security forces. Although their forces have been established and some real progress has been made in getting them to the point that they have now taken over responsibility for security in large parts of Iraq, more must be done, and it must be done quickly. Our action to build the support systems to ensure that they are supported